Depression and anxiety, Qur'an and Sunnah, remedies. What if I told you that the weight you carry every day, the heaviness in your chest, the restless nights, the silent tears could actually be eased by a wisdom that is over 400 years old? A guidance so powerful, yet so simple, that we often overlook it. Yes, I'm talking about the Qur'an and Sunnah, the timeless remedies that can transform despair into hope, anxiety into calm, and darkness into light. Imagine waking up each morning feeling trapped by thoughts that won't let go. You try to smile, but the mirror only reflects exhaustion. You check your phone, scroll endlessly, hoping for distraction. But inside there's an emptiness that words cannot touch. How did we let it get this far? How did our minds betray us like this? Now, here's the secret: most people miss. Islam has already answered this struggle. The Quran tells us, verily, with every difficulty there is relief, a 9, 4 and 6 relief, not in some distant future, not after a lifetime of chasing success, but now, here, today. The door is open, but so many stand outside, unaware. Let's talk about something relatable. Have you ever been stuck in traffic, frustrated, heart racing, wishing the world would stop? That's a small taste of what depression and anxiety feel like every day. And just like traffic, our minds can be jammed with endless worry, guilt and fear. But here's the remarkable part: the Sunnah gives us tools, like dua, remembrance of Allah, and prophetic practices that clear that traffic instantly, or at least guide us to the exit. The Prophet Muhammad taught us to seek Allah's help when our hearts feel heavy. He said, make things easy for people and do not make things difficult. Give glad tidings and do not repulse. Imagine what would happen if we applied this mercy first to ourselves. Imagine forgiving your mind, your mistakes, your setbacks. That's not weakness, that's strategy, that's divine wisdom. And there's the Qur'an. Have you ever tried sitting quietly with it, listening to its words, letting them wash over you like water, cleansing dust from the soul? Surah Al-Inshirah, for instance, tells us, so verily, with the hardship there is relief. It repeats this twice. Why? Because sometimes the mind needs to hear it again and again until it finally believes. It's repetition, reinforcement, healing. Here's a real life example. A friend of mine, brilliant and ambitious, was paralyzed by anxiety. Sleep was a stranger, joy a distant memory. Then, one night, she started reading just one verse of the Qur'an before bed. That small, consistent act didn't magically erase her anxiety. But slowly, her mind found space, her heart found calm, and her soul remembered hope. Step by step, she reclaimed her life. And the secret: she relied on what has always worked, the guidance of Allah and the Prophet. Now, let's open another door. Physical habits affect mental health. The Prophet emphasized diet, sleep, and exercise, but also regular remembrance of Allah. Morning adkar, a sincere dua when anxiety strikes. Walking while thinking of Allah. These small rituals anchor the soul. They are tiny keys to unlock a mind trapped in chaos. And here's the point that changes everything: you are not broken. You are not failing. You are human. And Islam doesn't just sympathize, it provides a roadmap. Depression and anxiety are storms, but the Qur'an and Sunnah are your compass, guiding you to the harbor. So I leave you with this thought today: just one verse, one dhikr, one sincere dua. Your mind, your heart, your soul, they are listening. And little by little, you will feel lighter. You will breathe easier. You will rediscover the spark that was always yours, waiting to ignite. Remember, you are not alone. You are not powerless. You are part of a legacy that has seen despair and conquered it through faith, prayer, and action. Step into that light. Walk through that door. And when you do, don't just survive, thrive. Because the truth is simple, yet profound: relief is not a dream. It is a promise, and it is waiting for you. True relief from depression and anxiety is available through the guidance of the Qur'an and Sunnah. Allah reminds us repeatedly that with every difficulty there is relief, reinforcing hope in our darkest moments. Small, consistent acts like reciting Qur'an, dua, and daka have profound effects on mental health. The Sunnah encourages physical and spiritual practices that stabilize the mind and heart. Depression and anxiety are human experiences, not personal failures. Faith provides practical strategies to navigate them. Healing is gradual but achievable, and by taking one step today, you reconnect with hope, peace, and purpose. Have you ever felt that heaviness in your chest, the kind that makes every breath feel like a struggle, every thought a chain? You wake up and it's there. You try to smile, to push it away, but it clings relentless. That's the reality for millions, though many of us hide it behind laughter, social media filters, or busy schedules. But what if I told you that this weight, this relentless storm in your mind, has already been met with a solution, a remedy that has existed for centuries, quietly waiting for you to notice it? That remedy is the Qur'an and Sunnah. Imagine a young woman sitting on the edge of her bed at 3 a.m., scrolling through endless posts, comparing herself to the world, feeling like she is failing at life. Her thoughts scream at her, "You're not enough. You'll never be happy. Nothing will change." She feels trapped, imprisoned in her own mind. And then, in the stillness, she recalls something her grandmother once told her. Read even a verse of the Quran, just one. Let it speak to you. She hesitates, weary from the day, but opens the book. And there it is, the words of Allah shining like a candle in the darkness. Verily, with every difficulty there is relief. She reads it again, slower this time, letting each word sink in. Relief, not tomorrow, not next week, but relief. Her mind, starved for hope, latches onto it. She doesn't suddenly feel joyous or free, but something shifts. A crack appears in the wall of despair. It's subtle, but it's there. This is how the Quran works. It doesn't always erase pain instantly. It plants a seed. And sometimes that seed is all that's needed to start the journey back to light. Think of it like a lifeboat in a stormy sea. Your thoughts, your fears, your worries, they are waves crashing over you, threatening to pull you under. And you're exhausted, ready to surrender. Then comes the Qur'an, the Sunnah, the teachings of the Prophet, as if a hand reaches down to steady you, offering a lifeline. You grasp it, even if shakily, and suddenly you remember that the storm, no matter how furious, is not permanent. Relief exists, guidance exists, you are not abandoned. I've seen this happen countless times, even with people who had been wandering in darkness for years. One man, a successful professional, would lie awake at night consumed by anxiety, replaying every mistake, every word he had ever regretted. Nothing worked. Therapy, advice, distraction. And then he started a simple habit. He recited Surah Al-Duha before sleeping. One night a particular verse struck him. Your Lord has not forsaken you, nor does He hate you. Something in him softened. The tight grip of fear loosened. The relief didn't come as a thunderclap, but as a quiet reassurance. A whisper that said, you are seen. You are valued. You are not alone. And slowly, over days and weeks, that whisper grew louder, reshaping his nights into spaces of peace rather than torment. The Sunnah complements this. The Prophet instructed us to seek Allah's help in every moment of distress. He said, O Allah, I seek refuge in you from anxiety and sorrow, weakness and laziness, miserliness and cowardice, the burden of debts and the oppression of men. Imagine speaking these words with sincerity, not as a ritual, but as a lifeline. Each word is a step out of despair, a conscious act of entrusting your struggles to the one who controls everything. The relief is not abstract, it's tangible. It enters your heart, softens the tension, and gives you the courage to face the day again. And what's remarkable is how accessible these remedies are. No special permission, no payment, no complicated rituals. Just the Qur'an, just the practices of the Prophet. The words are alive, the guidance is immediate, and the power is real. It's a treasure chest hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to open it, waiting for us to trust that Allah's wisdom has a way through the darkness. When we forget this, we search elsewhere. Temporary fixes, distractions, empty promises, but nothing lasts. Depression lingers, anxiety grows. But when we return to the Quran, when we follow the Sunnah, a path emerges. It is not always smooth. The journey requires patience, intention, and consistency. But the relief is there, quietly waiting, slowly transforming despair into hope, one verse, one dua, one mindful act at a time. And in this realization lies the most profound secret. The cure was never lost. It was never inaccessible. It was always within reach, embedded in the eternal guidance given to humanity, whispering to each soul, there is a way. You are not alone. Relief is here. Have you ever felt trapped in a moment so heavy, so suffocating, that it seemed like the walls were closing in on you, that the sky itself had abandoned you? You try to breathe, but the weight in your chest makes each inhale a labor, each exhale a surrender. In those moments, it feels like relief is a distant dream, like hope has turned its back, leaving you alone with your fear and doubt. And yet, in the Quran, Allah whispers a truth so powerful that it can break through even the thickest clouds of despair. So verily, with every difficulty there is relief, not once, but He repeats it twice, as if to say, I mean it. I promise. Do not give up before you hear this fully. Imagine a young man, talented, ambitious, carrying the weight of expectations from his family, his job, his own mind. Every step feels like trudging through quicksand. Each morning, he wakes with the same knot in his stomach, the same voice in his head telling him he is failing. One day, while waiting for a bus, he notices a verse of the Quran on a billboard, a verse he has read countless times but never really absorbed. For indeed, with hardship comes ease. He reads it aloud, almost defiantly, challenging his despair. At first, nothing changes. The bus arrives, the crowd moves, the city hums around him, indifferent to his suffering. But that night, lying awake in darkness, the words return to him. And slowly, like sunlight filtering through clouds, they begin to settle in his heart. The weight doesn't vanish, but it shifts. Relief is no longer invisible. It is promised. It is possible. It is near. This repetition, this insistence in the Quran is not accidental. It is divine strategy. Imagine if your mind were a cracked cup trying to hold water. You pour in hope, but it leaks away because the cup cannot contain it. Allah pours again and again until the cracks are filled, until the heart learns to hold hope even in the midst of pain. The reminder that relief accompanies difficulty is repeated to ensure that the soul does not despair, that the mind does not surrender, that the heart remembers there is a way forward even when it feels like all paths are blocked. Consider a mother who lost her child, her world shattered into pieces she cannot gather. Nights are endless, days unbearable. People speak words of comfort, but they fall flat like leaves on the wind. And then she turns to the Quran, her trembling hands opening to Surah al-Inshirah. Also verily, with the hardship, there is relief. She reads it slowly, her tears falling, her heart listening. It doesn't erase the pain. It doesn't replace the child, but it plants a seed, a fragile, stubborn hope that life, though scarred, can carry on, that sorrow and healing can coexist, that the hand of Allah is not absent even in the darkest night. Even the Prophet himself experienced trials that tested the heart and soul. Loss, hardship, and betrayal were never foreign to him. Yet he never despaired. He would turn to Allah in every moment of difficulty, exemplifying the living truth that with every trial there is ease. His life teaches us that despair is never permanent, that patience and trust in Allah are not passive acts, but active strategies to survive and thrive amidst hardship. And this is what makes the promise so radical. Relief is not just possible, it is guaranteed. It is not contingent on luck, circumstance, or human intervention. It is divine, certain, and timeless. Imagine walking through a storm, wind tearing at your clothes, rain soaking your skin, lightning cracking overhead, and knowing with unwavering certainty that the storm will end, that shelter awaits, that the sun will break through. That is the power of this reminder. It is a lifeline tossed to a drowning soul, a hand extended to the fallen, a rope tied firmly to the one who controls all outcomes. Every difficulty carries within it the seeds of relief. The divorce that shatters you, the failure that humiliates you, the loneliness that isolates you, they are not the end. The Quran repeats it because our hearts are fragile, our minds forgetful, our hope fleeting. Allah speaks to us with patience greater than any human teacher, guiding us gently but firmly to remember that no night lasts forever, no winter has infinite hold, and no burden is heavier than the one who promises to lighten it. And in hearing this promise, in truly internalizing it, the mind begins to shift, the heart begins to breathe, the soul begins to recognize that hardship is not the enemy, it is the doorway to ease. The more we remember, the more we trust, the more the unseen relief draws near, transforming despair into resilience, anxiety into courage, and darkness into a space where hope can bloom again. Have you ever noticed how tiny drops of water, falling steadily on a stone, eventually carve grooves deep enough to shape it? The process is slow, almost imperceptible, but relentless. Our minds and hearts are much the same. Depression and anxiety often feel like massive boulders pressing down on us, immovable and crushing. And yet, Islam offers something as simple and consistent as those drops of water. Small acts of worship, repeated daily, that gradually wear away the weight of despair. Reciting even a single verse of the Quran, whispering a short dua, or remembering Allah in dhikr may seem insignificant at first. You might think, will this tiny act really make a difference? And the answer, time and time again, is yes. Consider a young man, exhausted from work, anxiety gnawing at him like invisible teeth. He lies on his bed at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying every mistake of the day. The walls of his room feel tighter, the air heavier, his thoughts more chaotic. One night, almost on impulse, he opens the Quran. His eyes fall on a single verse. Indeed, Allah is with those who have patience. He reads it slowly, savoring each word, letting it sink into the dark corners of his mind. He whispers it again the next night, and the next. Each repetition is like a soft breeze through a suffocating room, lifting the dust of worry, giving space to breathe. There's a power in consistency. Just as muscles grow stronger with small daily exercises, the heart and mind strengthen with repeated spiritual acts. A friend of mine, overwhelmed by anxiety and sleepless nights, began practicing morning dhikr as the Prophet recommended. At first it felt mechanical, almost like a chore, but over weeks she began to notice subtle changes. The tight knot in her chest loosened, fleeting moments of calm appeared during her day, and a spark of hope returned. She told me, I didn't realize that whispering La ilaha illallah while washing my hands, walking, or waiting in line could slowly feel like the world is lighter. And that is the beauty of dhikr. It is continuous, intimate, and grounding, gently shifting the landscape of the mind over time. Dua too holds immense transformative power. It is not the length of the words that matters, but the sincerity and the connection with Allah. Imagine a woman sitting alone at her kitchen table, hands trembling as she whispers a short prayer for relief from sadness. Each time she speaks, she feels a slight unburdening, as if she is handing her worries over to someone who understands fully. The Prophet said, supplication is the weapon of the believer. Think about that. A weapon, not of destruction, but of protection, of strength, of reclaiming power when life feels like it is spiraling out of control. Each heartfelt dua is a strike against despair, a shield against anxiety, a reminder that she is not fighting alone. And these acts are not just spiritual, they are practical tools for mental health. Science has begun to recognize what Muslims have known for centuries: focused repetition, meditation, and intentional spiritual practices reduce stress, stabilize emotions, and promote resilience. Each recitation, each dhikr, each dua is like a small lifeline thrown to a drowning mind, pulling it inch by inch toward calm waters. Imagine a family struggling with the anxiety of daily life, debts, illness, conflicts, and disappointments. Each member begins to integrate tiny acts into their day. The father whispers a short dua before leaving for work. The mother recites a verse while preparing breakfast. The children repeat a simple dhikr before school. Individually, it may seem small, almost insignificant, but collectively, the house begins to feel lighter. The tension in the air softens, laughter returns in brief moments, and even the heaviest burdens feel slightly more manageable. That is the power of small, consistent acts. They ripple outward, affecting not just the individual, but those around them, creating pockets of relief in a chaotic world. The Prophet modeled this simplicity and consistency in his own life. He did not rely on grand gestures alone. He recited the Quran regularly, made short supplications, and remembered Allah in every moment. His example shows us that spiritual resilience is built brick by brick, moment by moment, repetition by repetition. The key is persistence, not perfection, and the recognition that even the tiniest act, if sincere, can have profound effects on mental and emotional well-being. And so, even in the darkest nights of the soul, even when anxiety feels suffocating and depression seems unshakable, the smallest act, reading a verse, whispering a prayer, remembering Allah, can create a shift. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, a heart that once felt like stone begins to soften, a mind that once felt trapped begins to find space, and a soul that once felt alone begins to sense the presence of a guide who never abandons. Have you ever noticed how our bodies and minds are inseparable, like two dancers moving to the same rhythm? When one stumbles, the other feels it. When one is tense, the other tightens. Anxiety and depression do not live only in the mind. They echo through the body in restless nights, heavy limbs, tight shoulders, shallow breaths. And the Prophet in his unmatched wisdom, understood this fully. He showed us that care for the body, alongside spiritual practice, is not a luxury. It is essential for a healthy mind, a stable heart, and a resilient soul. Imagine a man drowning in anxiety, pacing his room late at night. His thoughts spin endlessly, regrets from the past, worries for the future, fears that feel larger than life. He tries to calm himself by scrolling on his phone, distracting himself, but nothing works. And then he recalls a hadith he heard as a child: a strong believer is better and more beloved to Allah than a weak believer. While there is good in both, strength, not just spiritual but physical, the Prophet taught that a healthy body supports a healthy mind, and that neglecting either can make anxiety worse. So he begins to walk, not aimlessly, but intentionally, with quiet dhikr on his lips, breathing deeply, feeling each step as if it carries a prayer. Slowly, the tension in his chest eases, the storm in his mind softens, and he begins to feel something he hasn't in months: presence, clarity, calm. The Sunnah guides us to a rhythm of life that balances body and soul. Regular sleep, moderation in eating, gentle exercise, and moments of stillness are all acts the Prophet encouraged. Think of a young woman who wakes at dawn, her mind clouded by worry, heart racing with tasks for the day. She follows the Sunnah of Fajr prayer, rising from bed and standing in the quiet of the early morning, her body stretching, her lungs drawing in cool, fresh air. The world is silent, yet vibrant. Her heart, which felt heavy with anxiety, begins to breathe alongside her body. She whispers, "Allah, I trust in you," and for the first time that morning, she feels a fragile thread of peace tug at her chest. Even diet plays a role in mental health. The Prophet encouraged moderation, saying, "No human ever filled a vessel worse than the stomach. Sufficient for the son of Adam are a few morsels to keep him going." Overeating or unhealthy habits burden not just the body, but the mind. Imagine someone constantly battling fatigue and low mood, unaware that a heavy, rushed meal is quietly feeding their anxiety. They slow down, follow the Sunnah, eat mindfully, and gradually notice a subtle shift. Their body feels lighter, their energy steadier, their mind more capable of facing challenges. Small adjustments consistent with prophetic guidance can ripple outward into emotional resilience. The Sunnah also teaches us the power of intentional movement combined with spiritual awareness. Walking, stretching, even simple chores performed with mindfulness and dhikr are not just physical acts, they are medicine for the soul. Picture a father, weighed down by financial stress and family worries, stepping outside for a brief walk. Each step is paired with a whispered remembrance. Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. The rhythm of body and breath, the grounding of the feet on the earth, and the remembrance of Allah form a triangle of stability. Anxiety loosens its grip, worry fades into the background, and the heart feels tethered to something unshakable. And it's not only during moments of conscious practice that the Sunnah nurtures mental well-being. Daily routines, like performing ablution, offer both spiritual cleansing and physical refreshment. Wudu is a simple act, but imagine the effect on a restless mind. The cold water over the hands, the face, the feet, a tangible reminder that you are washing away tension, starting anew. The Prophet said that prayer removes anxiety and fatigue. Each movement in Salah, bowing, standing, prostrating, is a rhythm that unites body and soul, creating a harmony that whispers to the heart, you are not alone, your struggles are known, relief is within reach. Even small prophetic habits like drinking water in sips rather than gulps, sleeping on the right side, or speaking gently, contribute to mental stability. Each act may seem minor, but they accumulate. They form a scaffold for a life in which body and spirit support each other. Anxiety finds less purchase when the body is cared for and the heart anchored in dhikr. Depression softens when routines nurture rhythm, order, and sacred connection. And so, the Sunnah is not just guidance for worship, it is a blueprint for living with balance, for cultivating a mind that can endure, a heart that can heal, and a soul that can remain connected to hope even in the darkest times. When the body is aligned with the soul, when physical care meets spiritual mindfulness, mental struggles no longer dominate. They are held, managed, and gradually transformed into resilience. Have you ever felt a shadow hovering over you, a weight pressing down that no one else seems to notice? You wake up and it's there. You sit in the middle of a busy room, surrounded by people laughing, talking, living, and yet you feel invisible, disconnected, trapped in a storm no one else can see. For many, that storm comes with a sense of shame, as though their suffering is proof of weakness, evidence that they have somehow failed at life or at faith. But let me tell you a secret that the Qur'an and Sunnah make perfectly clear. Struggling with anxiety or depression is not a personal failure. It is human, it is real, and it is acknowledged, understood, and met with guidance by Allah and His Messenger. Consider a young man, bright, ambitious, and beloved by friends and family. Yet every night he battles intrusive thoughts, a racing heart, a mind that refuses to rest. He feels guilt over not being strong enough, shame over needing help. Then he remembers a verse he heard in a lecture, and we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger, and a loss of wealth and lives and fruits, but give good tidings to the patient. 155, he pauses, realizing that his struggle is not punishment, but part of the human journey, a test designed not to crush him, but to shape him, to teach him, to guide him back to reliance on Allah. Relief is not denial of difficulty. It is the acknowledgement that suffering is temporary and manageable with faith. There's a woman I know who has battled anxiety for years. She would wake in the middle of the night, heart pounding, mind racing with what ifs. She carried a secret belief that if she were truly faithful, she would not feel this way. One day, during a study circle, she heard the story of the Prophet who experienced loss, sorrow, and worry yet turned to Allah in each moment. She realized something vital. Even the Prophet faced trials, and yet he was not judged by the weight of his struggles. The lesson was clear. Feeling anxiety or sadness does not make her less faithful. It makes her human, and it opens the door to the very guidance that can help her navigate those feelings. Faith provides practical strategies, not just consolation. The Quran offers words to recite when the mind spirals, like, "Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from anxiety and sorrow." These are not mere words, they are anchors. When recited sincerely, they create space in the mind, a pause between fear and reaction, a moment where perspective returns. The Sunnah complements this by providing routines, actions, and habits that stabilize daily life. Regular prayer, daqah, fasting, moderation in eating and sleep, and the acts of kindness to oneself and others all become tools, building resilience piece by piece. Imagine someone paralyzed by worry, thinking of all the things that could go wrong. The Prophet taught simple, actionable steps: take care of your body, care for your soul, and turn to Allah with sincerity. Begin with one verse, one dua, one act of remembrance. Stand, bow, prostrate, and feel the rhythm of prayer. Center your mind. Walk, stretch, breathe intentionally. Whisper dhikr in every moment of pause. Each step is small, yet together they create a bridge from despair to hope. Even in communal life, faith offers guidance. Anxiety often isolates people, convincing them that they must face their struggles alone. The Sunnah, however, encourages seeking help, maintaining relationships, and sharing burdens. Visiting friends, offering and accepting advice, and engaging in acts of service become antidotes to loneliness, reminding the heart that connection heals just as much as prayer and remembrance. And the beauty of this approach is that it reframes the struggle itself. Anxiety is no longer a mark of failure, but an opportunity to exercise patience, trust, and faith. Depression is no longer a condemnation, but a signal that you need care, compassion, and connection with Allah. Every practice, every dua, every verse becomes both medicine and mentorship, guiding the soul gently back to equilibrium. Think of it like walking through a dense forest. Anxiety is the fog, depression the uneven ground, uncertainty the hidden roots that trip you. Faith hands you a lantern and a staff. The path is still challenging, but now you can see, now you can navigate, now you can step forward without being paralyzed by fear. The Qur'an and Sunnah provide light and guidance, practical strategies, and spiritual reinforcement, proving that no one is abandoned in their struggle and no burden is insurmountable when approached with knowledge, patience, and faith. And in this recognition lies freedom: the freedom to feel, the freedom to seek help, the freedom to heal, and the freedom to live fully while still human. Depression and anxiety are experiences, not verdicts. Faith does not erase them instantly, but it gives the tools, the wisdom, and the hope to navigate them one deliberate, courageous step at a time. Words on paper. But she recites it again the next morning, and the next. Each repetition is a tiny step toward reconnection with hope. Slowly, she notices a change, not dramatic, but undeniable. The knot in her chest loosens slightly, her breaths come a little easier, and she starts to believe, just a little, that relief is possible. This gradual transformation is echoed in the Sunnah. The Prophet modeled consistency, patience, and persistence. He taught that small acts performed sincerely accumulate immense spiritual and emotional power. The wisdom is simple: you do not have to leap over mountains to heal. You do not need to have perfect faith or perfect circumstances. One step, one verse, one deck, one sincere dua at a time can create momentum. And momentum is the engine of recovery. Consider a father burdened by anxiety over his family's future. He wakes each day with tension pressing on his shoulders, heart racing with what ifs, mind spinning with doubts. Following prophetic guidance, he begins to integrate small acts into his daily life. Walking while remembering Allah, praying consistently, taking a few minutes each morning to reflect on blessings instead of worries. At first, the change is subtle. His mornings feel slightly lighter, his thoughts slightly less chaotic. But over weeks, those small acts combine, like bricks building a bridge. The weight of anxiety does not vanish overnight, but he begins to cross that bridge, step by step, feeling the firm support of faith beneath him. Healing is also about perspective. Imagine a painter standing before a blank canvas. The first strokes are hesitant, uneven, and incomplete. But each additional stroke, each careful choice, adds depth, color, and life. Depression and anxiety are not erased with a single brush stroke. Yet every mindful act, every verse recited, every dua whispered is a deliberate stroke that reshapes the canvas of the soul. Over time, the chaotic dark spaces are replaced with patterns of light, balance, and beauty. Even in moments when progress seems invisible, the Prophet reassures us through his life and teachings. Trials, he demonstrated, are part of the human journey, but so is recovery, so is growth, so is the steady return to hope. Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. He taught. Each person carries within them the capacity for resilience, the capacity to heal, and the capacity to rediscover joy and peace. Sometimes all it takes is recognizing that each small effort counts, each intentional step matters, and each day offers a chance to move closer to relief. Picture a community of believers, each struggling in their own way. One is grappling with anxiety, another with grief, another with feelings of emptiness. Each begins to take one small step, reading a verse, making a dua, performing an act of kindness, practicing dhikr. Individually, these acts might seem minor. Collectively, however, they create an atmosphere of hope and healing. The darkness remains, but it is no longer suffocating. Relief, once distant, now feels within reach. And here lies the ultimate secret: healing is not a race. It is not linear. It does not demand perfection. It is a journey measured in small victories, quiet moments, and the steady accumulation of faith-infused actions. Each step reconnects you to hope when despair tempts you to give up, to peace when your mind is restless, to purpose when you feel adrift. It is a reminder that while darkness may linger, light is always possible, always approaching, and always within your grasp. Every person listening today, every soul carrying unseen burdens, can take that first step right now. It may be reciting a single verse, whispering a short dua, or pausing for a breath and remembering Allah. That single act is the first ripple in a river of relief. It is the sunrise beginning to break through the night, the first brushstroke painting color onto a blank canvas, the first footstep on the bridge toward peace. Now, I want you to listen closely, because this is for you. Yes, you sitting there, carrying burdens no one else sees, fighting battles no one else knows. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not powerless. Take a moment and hear these words again. With every difficulty, there is relief. With every difficulty, there is relief. Say it in your heart. Let it sink. Let it rise. Let it remind you that no darkness lasts forever, that no storm is endless, and that your struggle does not define you. You have the tools, you have the guidance, you have the light waiting for you in the Qur'an, the Sunnah, and the daily acts of remembrance and prayer that you can start today, right now. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take one step, just one verse, one dua, one breath, one movement toward hope, because that one step is the key. That one step can change the trajectory of your heart, your mind, your life. Remember, healing is gradual, but it is achievable. Relief is not a dream. Relief is not a promise for someday. Relief is here, waiting for you to reach for it. Relief is here, waiting for you to say yes to faith, yes to action, yes to life again. Relief is here, and it begins with you. So rise, read, pray, remember? Take that step, take it again and again. Step by step, moment by moment, you are reclaiming your peace, your joy, your purpose. Step by step, you are showing the world and yourself that no darkness, no anxiety, no depression can extinguish the light within you. And never forget this: you were never meant to carry this alone. You were never meant to surrender. You were always meant to rise. And the time to rise is now. Because when you take that first step today, you do more than heal yourself. You ignite hope in others. You inspire strength in hearts still lost in darkness. You remind the world that with faith, with action, with persistence, every soul can find its relief. So step forward, step forward, step forward, and let your soul shine. Because relief is not waiting for tomorrow. Relief is not waiting for someone else. Relief is waiting for you.